Netflix released all 7 episodes of Squid Game Season 2, and I was able to watch them, so let's review it. Now, if you ask me, I think they found a very worthy story to follow up the first season. Some of it feels like it was meant to be, like there was always meant to be a second season, but also some of it feels like they kind of just put a second season in there, but for the most part, it felt like season 2 needed to be here. It was a continuing piece of a story that was crucial to the story that was being told. There's a bunch of edge of your seat moments in here, either if it comes to the games in here, or just the twists that are revealed throughout the story. Just everything that happens, something just pops up, and you're at the edge of your seat waiting just to see what would happen next. A certain character, a certain game, it doesn't matter what, you're always at the edge of your seat waiting to see what would happen next. The show hooks you from just this first episode, and you just want to see where the rest of the story goes. The first episode hooks you right on into the story that they're going for the second season, and you just want to see what happens next. You want to see where the rest of it goes. And then you see episode 2, and that hooks you into episode 3. And then episode 3 hooks you into episode 4, and so on and so forth. So the episodes do a nice job at just hooking you in and grabbing your attention. You want to keep watching more. Now, certain themes of this season are standing out. Not as much as the first season, but there's certain elements of certain different themes in here that I am liking. I'm liking the direction of the themes that they have in here. Now, the first 4 episodes I find great. I think the first 4 episodes of this season are as good as the original season. I also liked how this season, for the Squid Games parts, how each group is has their own group of people in it. I liked how this season took their time and basically made you connect to each group. Not all of them, but just the main ones you need to know. Now, there's a reason why they did that, but I won't dive into spoilers. But I just liked how they took their time and you cared for each person in the group. So if something did happen to a certain character, you'll care for them and they're not just some extra in the background. There's a lot of extra in the backgrounds, but there's also a lot of main characters too. And the show just left things off excitedly. You want to see season 3, which does come out next year, and you just want to see what happens next because you're hooked from the end of the season. Now, I do think this season is nowhere near as good as the first season. It's missing all the elements that made that first season that first season. That first season is more about the Squid Games itself. You also have the theme, the characters in there. Everything in that season is basically 10 times stronger than everything that we got in this season. Also, compared to the first season basically kicked everything into gear in the first episode. This season takes about 2 episodes just to really start the story. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but just compared to the first season, the story doesn't really fully start until episode 3. I also did say how this show took their time and made you care about almost every character. Well, they did, but the characters aren't memorable. Compared to season 1, where you liked every character in there. This season, you don't. Because I bet you I will forget about half the characters in this season by next week. Now, the last episode of this season was definitely the weakest to me. The show no longer fully feels like Squid Games and is more of a different story. It's not about the Squid Games, it's about how to take down the Squid Games. And the final episode kind of shows that, because it doesn't really fit what the rest of the season just did. The episode before that, with the games and stuff, then the follow-up episode for the finale doesn't feel like a Squid Games episode. Now, this show also doesn't feel like a season of TV. It feels more like a Squid Game Season 2 Part 1. Just like what they're doing for Cobra Kai, just like they did for Stranger Things Season 4, it feels like they split it into 2 parts. But instead of Part 1 and 2, instead it's Season 2 and 3. And when you watch the show, you can tell, because there's plot points in here that are just cut entirely. Not cliffhanger cut, just cut. There was supposed to be something after that scene, but they just cut it because they're saving it for Season 3. While the main story feels like a cliffhanger, while there's other plot points that don't. Season 1 had such a great theme, character, story, while Season 2 falls flat. It compares nowhere near to what Season 1 brought to us. I like certain ideas. It hooks you enough to keep watching. This is not a bad season. It's still an enjoyable season, but it's nowhere near as good as the first season, and I think it won't make as much as an impact as the first season did. And as much as the creators want it to have that impact, I just don't think that impact is going to land as much as they want it to. I can see how people could enjoy this season, but I was not one of those groups that enjoyed it. So although Squid Game Season 2 is enjoyable and is not a bad season, it has a lot of problems that completely downgrade it from Season 1. It's nowhere near the level of Season 1. The story's weak, theme's weak, characters are weak, but there's a lot of ideas in here that I do like, the direction that they're going with it. And certain reveals for Season 3 for what they introduced in Season 2, I'm looking forward to see how the character reacts. I do think Squid Game Season 2 is worth checking out if you were a fan of the first season. Just keep in mind though, it's not as good. But anyways, that was my review for Squid Game Season 2. If you liked this video, maybe leave those on the side that interests you too. Like, subscribe, and see you guys next time. Goodbye.